Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. This is part two with Javon Williams talking about the Lamont Myers Foundation. Get you something to drink, get you a snack, and come on back. All right, Javon, thank you so much for sharing just all the information that you shared about, just your life, your son's life, as we started leading up to why you open or start your foundation. So we left off at, you learned that, Lamont was, you know, putting the pills and drinks instead of just taking it head on. So
Yeah.
let's kind of go from there. And I want to ask you, as you were talking to some of his friends, as you know, after he passed, did you feel like you was getting a little bit of closure as you were trying to piece together what you feel
Yeah.
actually happened with Lamont?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I felt like I was getting a little bit of closure.
Okay.
And I still feel like there's some things that I don't know.
Yeah.
And now, after the years, it's okay that it's okay for me. I'm not gonna might know the truth or
Right.
what's not, what's real, what's true. I do believe maybe like 75%,
Yeah.
80% is the truth, and I go by from what I feel. And it's hard to say, but yeah, some things or some things that just come to me, and I'm like, and then it's said, I'm like, yeah, I knew that. Okay, I knew
Yeah.
that already.
Yeah.
Those different parts. But yeah, I'm just learning. It's been 5 years now,
Yeah.
and I'm learning. How to just keep them in my heart. You know, there's other things that I have to, work with God. We all work in progress, but, I'm just learning how to keep them in my heart, the love. And I'm just thankful for the support. And I don't know, I thought that I wouldn't even be here, when you go through something traumatic, I sacrifice myself for my kids. Each and every one of us, there's sacrifices that we do, whether we get up and go to work and we didn't pay a bill to go do this, and to have to wake up and my child was gone from the face of this earth,
Yeah.
and to this day I still have to carry this in my heart. It's like a cloud every time I go out. I'm starting to laugh a little bit more some days. We had those sad days where I'm crying in my car. But I just appreciate, the support and being able to do the work I do in the community, and then, like I say, it's not easy. Sometimes I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning, because I do have a job that I work, that I get paid. So I work from maybe like 3 to 5 on my foundation stuff, and then, stop that, and then I'm on to my work, because that's what I get paid for, with them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So how did the Lamont Myers Foundations come about? Tell me what brought that about in your heart? Like what in your mind said, you know what? I want to take this tragic loss and bring something positive out of this.
Yeah. So I was talking with one of my friends, good friends, when she heard about my situation. She had wanted to talk to me. We had met before, but when you're going through this type of stuff, people just come out and they want to comfort you. So she was comforting me, and she was like telling me like, oh, some people, they start. foundations and stuff like that. It helps them with their grieving and da da this and that. And so I was like, okay, I didn't really know what she understand. I heard her, but my mind was somewhere else. So then 2 years later, I thought about it. I was like, I don't want somebody else to go through what I went through.
Right.
So that's where it started. I mean, I don't want to see another parent to go through what I'm going through, or a sibling, or whatever. I don't want anybody else to go through this and have to live with it, for the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
so that's what started the Lamont Myers Foundation. And I got out in the community and I started meeting other community leaders that has been very supportive and helping me. And it just feels good to know that you're doing God's work. Like my whole life is different. Like I can go out with some of my friends, but I'm probably thinking about foundation stuff,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
next move, is just totally different for me. I would put my life on the line for this. Yes, I will.
Yeah. You know, when you um when you start the foundation, as things went on,
Hmm.
and I'm sure that kind of hashed up a lot of the old memories and things like that.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time where, because grief is different for different people,
Hmm.
like some people feel like, it's their fault. They
Yeah.
feel like they don't want to be living anymore because the pain is too much. Some
Hmm.
people do like you did,
Yeah.
turn this pain, this trauma into something
Yeah.
positive. Like,
Purpose. Hmm.
what type of mental state were you in, like
Yeah.
in that time?
Yeah. I was going through it
Yeah,
during that time. Like I didn't care. I remember driving in my car and didn't care if something happened to me.
yeah,
And that's not healthy. You know.
yeah,
And I think I couldn't even tell you, but maybe my angels up above, them prayer warriors, and my family wanting to see me get out of this. They wouldn't. Sometimes I was not left alone.
yeah,
Just I don't know. But then too, like it goes back to when I was young. I was independent.
yeah,
I've been around drugs all my life.
yeah,
I didn't want to be like my mother. She was on drugs. I took care of her, so
yeah,
maybe it was that independence. And I knew that, I had my other two boys here on earth
right,
and I had to be there for them. I didn't
right.
want to be the mom that's always wearing his coat and I'm crying. I done
Yeah,
did that 1,000 times. My head's hurting, and or hiding, I still cry and go through my emotions. That's never gonna stop. But I knew I didn't want to be that mom,
yeah, yeah,
and just couldn't do it, So, I don't know, some kind of way I got that energy, that burst,
yeah,
and yeah, it turned this pain to purpose.
yeah. Your two sons, how did it affect them? Because I know they had their own individual relationship with one another.
Yeah.
Did you see them grieving in their own way
Mhm.
individually?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, but I didn't see it, but
Okay.
I know that they're grieving.
Yeah.
Like my youngest, I'm starting him with counseling.
Hmm.
Because he doesn't want to talk about it. Not saying that he got to go see a counselor, but just with other little things.
Yeah.
And when I go out to the community, there's times I take him with me, and he'll say something, and I'll be like, "That was beautiful," like just something that you never even thought
Yeah.
of, and that's how Lamont was, and you'd be like, and so I'm like, okay, it's touching them, so yeah, that might be a good thing, and I want
Yeah.
to, get that opportunity where you talk to someone else. My oldest son, he works a lot on the port
Hmm.
and of Oakland, and he's doing okay. Yeah, he's working. He knows that okay, well, my brother gone, but I still got to take care of my household.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I took a tremendous loss, but I'm a
Yeah.
grown man. I still got to do what I got to do.
Yeah. Especially African American men and we grieve in different ways. A
Mhm.
lot of times we internalize
Yeah.
our pain,
Yes. Yeah.
and sometimes it may seem like it's not affecting us, but when we get alone and with our thoughts at night, we're
Yes.
driving to work or we're at
Yeah.
work, we're dealing
Mhm.
with that, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And I'm sure regardless of how strong your children are,
Yeah.
um, I'm based off what you said, they love their brother. I know that for a fact.
Yes. Yes.
And I know that that's something that they realize
Yeah.
that it's
Yeah.
like a loss because it's
Yes.
driven, you
Yeah.
know. And the fact that you're doing the work that you're doing and things like that, I'm sure that is very motivating to them to see
Yeah.
mom like, okay, my mom is keeping my brother's memory alive,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, but I know they had a moments. But
Yeah,
I think more so he's probably like worried about me more, and I'm like,
yeah,
I'm okay.
yeah,
Call me boy. Or he called, but
yeah,
yeah, he knows that okay, well, I lost my brother, and I just gotta go work, whatever. I gotta do what I gotta
yeah,
do. So
yeah.
yeah,
So, Javon, what year did you actually launch your foundation?
my foundation was started in 2022, I believe, and
Okay.
the end of 2022. But then
Wow.
some paperwork didn't go through, so I've been 50C compliance in 2023.
Okay. Wow. Nice. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about what your organization do, what you do, and what you have to offer the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. So we're still building, So basically, what I do now is just give out the second chance kits. I go in the community and I talk about it. I go to Oak Park like twice a month, the community center, and I pass those out or I give out information. Most recently, I don't want to say too much about it because it's a touchy situation, but I will go into the details.
Okay.
I got my first crisis response call, and fortunately, it didn't turn out good. The lady lost her 18-year-old son. Rest in peace to him, and I hope the family's doing okay. I do want to check back with him, but I want to give mom some time to,
Yeah.
get her thoughts together. I don't want to be overbearing, and what that means is that I'm calling the county. Well, I'm emailing the county like, this mom, this will happen. Is there anything we can do? And they pretty much like, you just got to be there for her. I'm asking the people on the scene, what can we do for this mom? And the lady said
Yeah.
the same thing, nothing. You just be there for her. And
Yeah.
so I just remember her son passed in the car too, and I'm walking her through, the stuff. I'm
Right.
like, make sure you give him your phone, whatever you got his coats, whatever, whatever I can help her with. And I remember with me, I didn't have nobody there, so I went to the grocery store and first I door dashed some food, for that
Yeah.
night and got her some groceries. We do things like that if we can. We're looking for funding. We don't have any funding,
Okay.
but it's okay because it'll come back to me some kind of way, But we try to be support to our community, whether it's mom, grandma, and I'm not just for the use, I'm for the users too,
Right.
for everybody because, we do have dual diagnosis,
Mm-hmm.
and some
Yes.
people don't know what that means, which
Yeah.
is like you can have a mental health. For those that don't know, you can have a mental health, I don't want to say problem, but you can be going have mental health. You can be diagnosed with mental health
Mm.
and using substance,
Yeah.
So that's like a dual diagnosis. So I'm for everybody. I mean, we and with everything that's going on, we got to be kind to people. We got to help people, and I'm so glad to meet some of my peers that's out here
Yeah.
doing the same work I'm doing. But
Yeah.
I would say to some people, this is for everybody. This ain't just your territory. We're in it for all to help
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. No, that's true. And you guys also you pass out what like kits? What's in your kits that you pass out?
Yeah, so what's in my kits is Narcan, hand sanitizer, fentanyl test strips, gloves, and masks. And I do want to incorporate some more things. Oh, and then I have resources. I have these little resources cards that have been given to me. So, like, if somebody needs to call some numbers, they're in the kit as well. So, yeah, and we give them out. I also have these youth bags when I go to the schools. I get those out just like for Red Ribbon Week. I was like, we got to do something for Red Ribbon Week. So
Yeah.
I was able to get into one of the high schools, close high schools, and lunchtime, that bell ring, and guess who's out there?
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, I'm out there, I throw luncheons for like substance use. I go to some of the programs. They'll let me throw a luncheon. Just wherever I can. We do have a Mother's Day brunch coming up for impacted mothers.
mhm.
I'm collaborating with another one of the healing groups. We're doing that. I'll be in the Bay Area, I think, sometime next month. I'm checking out my schedule for that, to
Yeah.
give out those kids whatever I can do to be supportive.
Yeah.
I would like to do much more looking for funding. I have a great opportunity where I might be able to rent out some rooms. I'm in closure right now.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, to get people off the streets, whatever I can do.
Yeah.
So, we got a lot of things. We do a lot of, trying to do a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
if I can say the whole world I would, but I know I can't.
Yeah, yeah, very impactful. Why is it important, Javon, that you get this information out there to the community about substance and overdosing it or just whatever? Like, why is it important that you get this information out, or why is it important that people are educated on this?
Yeah, it is extremely important. It's imperative, especially now, with the new administration. Everybody is caught up. I'm not talking politics or anything like
Yeah,
that, but everybody is caught up to what's going on and worried about that. You can't worry about what's going on. Let them, they got to figure it out. We got to still have our boots on the ground and get these
hmm,
kids, get these users together. It's just
yeah,
like a nurse, just like an army, or whatever. So it's very important because fentanyl is real. I don't talk to so many people that they didn't even know that fentanyl is mixed in with a tranquilizer. You know what I'm saying? So
wow,
sometimes it ain't just they putting different stuff in the fentanyl.
yeah,
And
wow,
my Narcan might not even work. So let's give you some education about that.
yeah,
I was just talking at a boys group a couple of weeks ago, and just letting them know they're gonna do what they want to do, right? But it's good for them to
right,
hear. Just like if you tell your kid to tie your shoe, now they know. Or you go across, you look both ways, when you cross the street. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? They know that automatically. So it's very important. Like I tell the boys, anybody, your brain is not developed fully until you're 25. And
yeah,
so when you out here doing these drugs, what does it do? It makes you slow, and then you're frustrated because somebody's telling you what to do, telling you stuff, and then you don't want to hear it. And then, it's just so many things, that
yeah,
they need to hear this. They need to hear it. And most importantly, to save somebody's life.
yeah,
I don't want your mama going through what I'm going through. Like I say, I don't know if I said on this show right here, but I almost lost my life. I have to take medicine to this day for my heart. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Because stress kills you. It will
yeah,
kill you.
hmm,
You can die of a broken heart.
yeah,
You can die. And to be told, like sometimes you won't even get a fully investigation.
yeah,
They say, oh, your kids this, or we didn't, there's no accountability. So we have to bring accountability, and people need to know that this drug is real. And I will say that a lot of people do know now.
yeah,
5 years ago, it wasn't that much awareness like it is now. So I'm happy to see kids say, oh, they know. But then what do you do when you get in that circle and you having fun? You know,
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
thinking about that.
Yeah, that peer and it's a lot of peer pressure too. It's
Hmm.
a lot of peer pressure. A lot of these kids, he listens different type of music that is promote
Yes.
Percocet and all that
Yes.
stuff, and
Yeah.
they think it's cool. They think it's,
Yeah.
what's in.
Yeah.
Realize that these very things that these rappers are talking about,
Yeah.
they probably ain't even doing them themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. And now that you touch on that, I hate it. Like I love my rap music. I love music. I love it. But it when I hear like the I pop the pill and
Yeah,
that kind of triggers me.
yeah,
That kind of triggers me for the
yeah,
simple fact is that okay, if that's what you do, and with all this stuff that's going on in
mhm,
America,
yeah,
and you have a big platform, those listeners are gonna do what you do and they might get the wrong stuff, you know, and it's not fair to us parents. So can you rap about to you rappers if y'all listening? Change, I don't know, but don't promote that, because it's deadly. It's
yeah,
deadly for those that don't know what they're taking. We do got unfortunately people that want to take fentanyl. They take it. You know what I'm saying? But it's not fair to those who take it who and don't know because they're getting something else.
That's exactly right. And I watch a lot of YouTube channels on fentanyl. Like
Hmm.
I'm telling you, like even before I met you and started talking with you the other day,
Yeah.
I was just like
Hmm.
fascinated by this because I do have
Yeah.
people in my family who do
Yeah.
pills and other type of substance and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I think that was my way of trying to educate myself. I
Yeah.
always like to hear about the different stories
Yeah.
of people who OD. I always like to hear
Yeah.
their background. We'll let them up to that point and
Yeah.
just kind of see if there are similarities there, or if there are people like you who
Yeah.
that's in their story that was
Yeah.
out in the community passing out kits and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I'm telling you, Javon, for the most part, a lot of the parents or loved ones uh, didn't really know about
Yeah.
fentanyl. It's like they're like an eye
Yeah.
opener to them,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
I can believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, and some of them be as young as 13 and 12,
Hmm.
11. And I
Yeah.
can't help but think like, okay,
Hmm.
where like, where are they getting the motivation to do this? Especially the
Yeah.
young kids,
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's out there.
Yeah. It's out there. Hmm.
And
Yeah.
you said something earlier too, like we can tell them, but in the end, they're gonna do what they want to do. But I also like to think that even if we reach one or two people
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
message,
Hmm.
that's more than not reaching none. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to keep talking about it.
Hmm.
And each one teach one,
Right.
and then that person might be because now we see how many people that's doing the work that I'm doing,
Hmm.
and somebody else, their kid, is going to pass on, and
Yeah.
that's the goal is to keep it passing on, because mental health is real. Some people, like I said, like I talked about the dual diagnosis, and you never know what a person is going through, what they've been through, and these kids these days they already got the traits,
Yeah.
being diagnosed or not diagnosed, but have it,
Mhm. Yes.
and doing the drug is even worse.
Yeah.
So we need to encourage them, because those, like I said, we can't stop it. Money, sex, drugs. We're not going to be able to stop that. But let's teach them.
Right.
I'm on both sides, the preventive side and the whatever.
Yeah.
But let's teach them.
Yeah.
Let's teach them. If you feel like you need some help, talk to somebody. If
Yeah.
you don't want to talk to a counselor, ain't nothing wrong with it.
Right.
A person that have a lived experience, and you might think twice, or it's going to register some kind of way. It's going to come to you some kind of way eventually,
Yeah.
but we got to keep talking about it.
Let me ask you a question. When you were growing up, do you recall if there were these type of resources available to like you or your friends or family members around us? Do you feel like what you're doing or the resources you have access to, do you feel like that was available growing up in the African American community?
You know what? I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. I
Okay.
mean, there was like, community centers where they had basketball games and you probably get resources there.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to go ask for that. I didn't
Yeah.
think nothing was wrong. I thought all this was cool. The flashy cars, the guys
Yeah.
stand out.
Yeah. No, I get it.
I knew, or I'm keeping my head down, minding my own business,
Right.
both for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but to answer your question, no, probably not. I probably got to say no because there was no commercials on TV. Plus we didn't have Instagram and Facebook, the social media too. So
Mhm.
probably not. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know every year you do like a balloon release for Lamont. Like
Yeah.
when you do that, do you take the opportunity to pass out kids, educate, talk to these kids and stuff like that as well?
Yeah. Yes. Actually, this was our second year doing that, and yeah, we do it year round.
Okay.
Well, except for the balloon release, but as far as like educating, passing out
Yeah.
flyers, talk to the kids, I incorporated those backpack our youth little black backpacks. That's all year. But the balloon release, we would love for it to get bigger,
Yeah.
and not just about Lamont too.
Right.
What I'm saying? I want to include everybody.
Yeah.
But we don't have that many followers like that, and I'm kind of not worried about it only because we're still crawl. We got to crawl before we can walk, and people still got to get to know who we are, my thing is just encourage people like, come on out, don't be scared, come tell your story. I want to see your baby, what
Right.
if you whatever your comfort level is.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
stands not to pressure people too, but
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
but I don't want it to be all about just yeah,
I
even
like
though
that.
yeah.
I like that a lot. How do because I told you like one the executive producer of this show uh text
Uh-huh.
me your flyer and I was really impressed.
Oh,
Like, oh, okay.
oh,
And he's
okay.
like, oh, this is somebody you can reach out probably and do a show with. And
Yeah.
when I looked at the information I read, I'm like, okay, this is she's doing great things.
Oh, thank
Want to
you.
hear more about the story.
Yeah.
Because I used to work in Sacramento County, and we could talk a little bit about this off
Okay.
air, but they funded programs similar to
Hmm.
what you're doing
Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
county and stuff, and
Yeah.
so
I'm
I
not eligible for the funding because I sit on the board.
oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I don't talk about that a lot, but yeah,
okay,
I sit on the board.
okay.
Whatever I can get my voice or have some type of recommendations, I'm on it.
No, that's smart. That's good.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
good. So, Javon, what's next for the Lamont Mars Foundations? Like, what do you
Yeah.
see, this going in 5 years, and what is your goal?
Yeah. Well, I want to be the next, like Red Cross. I want to be the opiate. Nah, just but
Yeah,
what's next is like just continue on doing the work we do. People tell me I'm doing good. I don't see it. I mean, I know what I'm doing, but it's just like I'm still swimming, till I get
yeah,
to that wherever, and I feel like, I'm just I don't know, maybe it's because it's just coming from here. I don't really see it, I'm thankful for what people telling me what they see, but I really don't see it. I just feel like it just has to be done. It's nothing, it has to be done. This is necessary. We can't
yeah,
keep having people dying and not even knowing what they dying from. Mothers is just devastated, fathers and siblings, and a lot of people don't talk about the siblings and the fathers too. You
yes,
know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
It impacts everybody, everybody.
Mhm.
So I just feel like. I'm doing God's work.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm at. And when, God forbid, I'm not suicidal or anything like that,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna go see my son. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm gonna go see my son, and I just I want to help, collaborate for this movement to keep going.
Yeah.
And like I said, everything going on with the administrative, we have to be there for our kids. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to affect all of us, whatever that's going on. I don't know, but what about the community? The
Yeah.
community, we have a safe. We can do something about these kids. We have a
Yeah.
community.
I definitely agree. I 100% agree on that. And you should feel really, really proud of yourself. The work that you've put in so far.
Thank you.
A lot of people don't always have the strength, the encouragement, or the vision to do
Yeah,
things that you're doing because you're not only educating
yeah,
and give back to the community and raise awareness, but you're also, believe it or not, you're saving lives. Trust and believe me
thank,
on that. You,
yes,
you are
yes,
saving lives, and you know, some of the parents or brothers or siblings or father or grandparents, whoever they will get your information.
yes, yes,
Information putting out, whether it's on your flyer or whether
yes,
they hear you speak about this,
yes,
they will get the information and it will
yes,
educate them
yes,
and it
yes.
will cause them to pay attention,
Hmm.
because your
Hmm.
story is very
Yeah.
impactful,
Yes, yes,
you know.
yes, yes. That's all I want. I have a big heart. And
Yeah.
I'm one of the types. I guess maybe where this drive come from too is that I'm one of the types to whereas if I do something for you, you don't have to pay me. But if I'm broke,
Yeah.
well, I take yeah, or sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
no, but I'm doing it because, this has to be done. I want to. I don't know what I don't know. God can put something in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
God can put something in me,
Yeah.
and just doing his work. And, I love him. Even before this happened, I love him
Yeah.
and now that this happened, I have my talks, but I know that, it's something good. Like the most beautiful things just happened to me, just come in my lap. That just happened to me. So that
Yeah.
really tells me something like, you're this is where you're supposed to be, and we all got a purpose. We just got to
That's
know
right.
what our purpose is.
That's exactly right. And yeah, I agree. Sometimes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we
something I
just
want to say,
never
we
know.
talk about offline, but sometimes sacrifices have to be made
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
order for,
Yeah.
a
Hmm.
purpose to come through. If you look at the life of Jesus, he had to
Yes. Yes.
die in order for us to be
Hmm.
saved.
Yeah.
And that's really what I thought about, to be honest with you, when
Uh,
we had our first conversation. I was like, man,
yeah.
like, she went through a lot with her son.
Yeah.
Had her son not
Hmm.
passed, she
Yeah.
would be saving other people's lives.
Yes. Yes. I
Ain't
would
that
be. I
interesting?
would. I would be still doing my 9 to 5 job and
Right.
tired. Oh, girl, I'm tired. And I done went out to the club and all that, but my life is totally different. Like I
Yeah.
go out with. I went out with my friends, for my birthday, whatever, because I turned 50, and I
Yeah.
had a good time. But
Yeah.
something my life is different. Like some
Yeah.
things I get invited to, it's like I don't want to go.
Yeah. No, I get
I
it.
want to work.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm into. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Javon, thank you so much for sharing your story, and sharing the story about your foundation, and keeping Lamont's hope alive, and most importantly, saving lives through
Thank
what
you.
happened with your son. I
Thank
really do
you.
appreciate this. And that's it for this edition of Mental Health Matters. If you enjoyed this particular show, if you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you would like a DVD copy of this show, please dial 916 366 4600. Thank you.